students, welcome to the lecture on Training Program, Designing. And after the lecture, we will be able to learn the following objectives. Understand the training aids, concepts. Define the attributes of training design. Explain the procedure of learning in training program. Explain the factors that affect training design. Understand the training climate and pedagogy. Explain the training modules. Define the learning styles. Let's start with brief introduction to training program designing. Training is an important learning process for organizations or dynamic development agencies. Program design is a series of continuous process which comprises of program planning, outlining and arranging learning experiences in order to achieve the set goal through effective planning and implementation.
Do you think it's important for corporation to invest in employee training and development?
We expect our employees to spend, to be very productive and to be very focused on the tasks that they need to be doing while they're working, which leaves very little time for gaining additional information or keeping up with the knowledge with respect to their particular trade or their particular craft. And so by investing in training specifically, by investing in providing opportunities for their employees to get trained by training companies that have good curriculum and good instructors and knowledgeable instructors and people with experience, they're able to impart tremendous amounts of information in the short amount of time and be able to allow the employees to maintain pace with the rapidly evolving environments that they're in. As I said, it applies to anywhere, but it absolutely applies to technology. I mean, new versions of software is coming out all the time. Every couple years you've got a new version of some software that people are using. And if you take all the different things that an IT person all the different software packages that they might need to deal with, at least every 2 or 3 months, they have some major new area of information that they have to absorb. And trying to do that all on your own is very, very difficult. What needs to be understood, I think, by corporations is that you sort of have 3 options. One option is that the employees don't keep up, in which case you're going to pay a very significant penalty because either you won't be able to use the newest technology, or it will be used very inefficiently, or even worse, incorrectly in a way that causes massive problems. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is that you require and if you will, force your employees to learn on their own, entirely on their own, which is going to either cause them to be significantly less productive because they're going to, at least for parts of their work time, because either they're going to take work time to do that because they can at home, or they're going to be resentful of the fact that you're impinging upon their home time to do the massive amounts of, upgrading of their knowledge that's necessary. Or third, you can allow them to spend a much smaller period of time to get a whole lot of information at once, with a lot of practical advice along with it, a lot of information that they wouldn't get otherwise unless they just fell into that pit themselves. So by investing in training, by investing in high quality training, you get much higher level of productivity much faster on the new technology than any other option that you would.
Let's discuss about the designing concept. Program design simply means creating a purposeful system or plan to achieve specific goal. The key words here are purposeful system. Acute variables, what are they? How do they affect the desired adaptation? How do they affect the overall training program? The OPT module planned fitness training periodization. How and why must the physiologic, physical, and performance adaptations of stabilization, strength, and power take place in a planned progressive manner to establish the proper foundation for each subsequent adaptation? Application. Selecting the right exercises. Selecting the right acute variables. Applying both in a systematic manner to different populations with different goals. Information of learning theories and principles can facilitate learning in a training program. Climate for energetic knowledge. Develops reciprocity and cooperation among students. Learning does not take place in a vacuum. Learners want to learn. The learning environment is important. Arrangement for mutual planning. Encourages contacts. Personality influences learning. Learners like challenges. The learning environment is a mutual activity between learner and instructor. Learner's requirements, interests, and principles. Respects diverse talents and habits of learning. Learners link new information to existing information in ways that make sense to the learner. Learners are individuals. Formulation of objectives. Communicates high expectations. The climate of learning should be collaborative as opposed to authority-oriented. Designs for learning. Uses energetic learning techniques. Past experience matters. Activities are experimental, non-transmittal, and absorption. Carrying out the design. Emphasizes time on task. More information does not necessarily mean more learning. The permit and encourage the energetic participation of the learner. Key knowledge attributes. Learning orientations consider these 3 learning attributes to explain how individuals generally want and intend to move towards learning. Descriptions for the key learning attributes. These attributes are critical influences on how successfully individuals learn. Self-motivation. Cognitive and effective focus on learning. This attribute estimates the learner's general feelings and attitudes about learning. Commitment to learning and strategic effort. This attribute estimates the degree that learners plan and commit deliberate, strategic effort to accomplish learning. Learning independence or autonomy. This attribute estimates the individual's desire and ability to take responsibility, make choices, and control or manage their own learning. Let's now talk about the attributes of training design. A training program should contain the following important attributes. The trainer. Before starting a training program, a trainer analyzes his technical, interpersonal, judgmental skills in order to deliver quality content to trainers. The trainees. A good training design requires close scrutiny of the trainees and their profiles. Training climate. A good training climate comprises of ambiance, tone, feelings, positive perception for training program, etc. Trainees' knowledge method. The learning style, age, experience, educational background of trainees must be kept in mind in order to get the right pitch to the design of the program. Training strategies. Once the training objective has been identified, the trainer translates it into specific training areas and modules. Did you know? Predictive evaluation model was developed by Dave Basarab. General goals of training. Define the fundamental goals of training. Identify the domain of learning to be targeted. Learning objectives. Determine the specific desired outcomes of the training. Course contented. Determine the amount of research and the expertise needed to develop and teach relevant, timely, and up-to-date content. Course lifetime. Determine the schedule including frequency of training. Develop a way to test the objectives, materials, and content for continued relevance. Design requirements. Ascertain whether this will be a new training or if there is an existing course to be updated. Identify training designers. Participants. Determine the size, location, and characteristics of the target population. Intangibles. Understand what it will take to authentically engage participants, to motivate them to enjoy and apply the learning. Resources. Determine how many instructors will be necessary, how they will be trained. Education factors. Identify what outcomes must be measured and determine how to measure them. Let's explore the learning style. Although characteristics of learning and learning styles are related, there are distinctions between the two. Learning style is a concept that can play an important role in improving instruction and student success. It is varied with student preferences and orientation at several levels. Training climate. Simply stated, climate is what it feels approximating to work wherever, how motivating that is, and consists of 6 clear elements: simplicity, commitment, standards, responsibility, recognition, and teamwork, all of which can be calculated and managed. Managerial support, MS. Supervisors give recognition and credit. Top managers expect high levels of performance at all times. Top management expects continuing technical excellence and competence. Job support, JS. Job assignments are designed to promote personal development. Organizational support, OS. Organization offers excellent training programs. Organization rewards employees for using just now acquired information and skills on the job. Produce a training climate in the training area. Enabling objectives. Identify characteristics of how people learn. Explain how groups form and develop. Characteristics of learners. Require learning to be relevant. Are highly motivated if they believe learning is relevant. Involving participants. Allowing participants to provide input regarding schedules, activities, and other events. Questioning and feedback. Use a multiplicity of methods. Audiovisual aids. Illustrated lectures, demonstrations. Use the constructive feedback. Give verbal praise either in front of other participants or in private. Recognize appropriate skills while coaching. Treat participants as individuals. Use participant names as often as possible. Involve all participants as often as possible. Maintain confidence. Reinforce those practices and beliefs embodied in their course content. Provide corrective feedback in an appropriate manner. Individuals become group. They share a common purpose. They share a common experience in attending the course. Each member's contributions and questions are valued and respected. Understand group dynamics. Observe. Develop increased awareness. To move towards learning goals. Structure, direction, leadership. Effective presentation skills. Follow a plan and use trainer's notes. Communicate in a way that is easy to understand. Purpose of introduction. Capture interest. Make participants aware of the clinical trainer's expectations. Introduction techniques. Reviewing the objectives. Asking a series of questions about the topic. Relating the topic to previously covered content. Participants' responses. Use participant names during questioning. Repeat a participant's correct response. Pedagogy. It is the strategies, techniques, and approaches so as to teachers, trainers can use to facilitate knowledge. Needs assessment. One, change beginner performance by figuring out what every apprentice needs and which strategies will work to unlock patterns that have not been working. Professional growth. Effective teachers, trainers cannot afford to rest for very long because the learners have a way of bringing a remarkable new set of challenges into the classroom each day. Strategy. Efficient teachers, trainers enjoy wealthy repertoires of instructional moves and techniques. They devote time to matching strategy to situation. Resource management. Shortages of resources are prevalent in many classrooms and are often not as good as in poorly performing institutions. Problem solving. Life in classrooms is ripe by means of surprises, other than not all of these surprises need to stall forward progress. Orchestration. The teacher-trainer of such classes knows how to combine all of the elements of pedagogy so that harmony, resonance, and synergy result. Now let's talk about the training modules. Standard and customized training modules. Presentation skills, change management, negotiating, staff leadership, selling skills, effective teams, conflict management, customized programs at all levels mediums. Remuneration of training modules. The benefits of the training modules are that one can choose from or combine together a number of different modules, that the modules can be delivered in residence at premises or other venue of choice, that they can help us identify training needs in the area of sustainable energy, that they provide a clear and simple pricing structure, that they keep down costs being cheaper than a fully bespoke service. Training aids could either be written or visual materials which help in the proper execution of the training method one have selected. Sorting of instructional aids. Projective. Motion pictures, videos, color slides. Non-projective. Chalkboard, whiteboard, charts and diagrams. Selection of aids. In selecting aids, take into account the following: practicability, suitability, complexity, clarity, portability, availability. Principles to go behind in adopting a visual approach. Anything that can be quantified or is factual can be presented visually. Obtain and select the necessary data. Preparation. Plan carefully the use of instructional aids. Make sure that the aids can be seen clearly from all areas of the room. Charts and diagrams. These fall into two main categories: bold and simple. Be large enough to be seen by all, not necessarily be self-explanatory. Be functionally colored, include only the essentials. Detailed. Be more or less self-explanatory. Be of medium or small size. Be suitable for semi-permanent display. Be artistically produced. Handouts. Handouts are specifically prepared sheets and notes. A handout can introduce a topic, provide a revision, provoke discussion. Handouts should be brief and sharp, containing only essential details, be accurate and complete. Why use handouts? They carry the stamp of authority. They provide a record of important information. They supply data to reflect the presentation. When must handouts be distributed? Before the presentation, during the presentation, at the end.
It might surprise you, or maybe it wouldn't surprise you to know that a lot of training isn't effective. And so really give some thought to how you're executing the training. Are you following the 6 steps? If you're going to delegate the training to a buddy to do the buddy system, make sure that that buddy knows the proper 6 steps. Even if all you do is copy this section of the program and give it to that employee and say, I need you to explain to the person what it is that you're going to teach them, show them that. And on the job, the other thing about the job, not like the shoe tying exercise, but is if the job requires referring to a blueprint or a work instruction or something else, instead of saying something like, and if you need to, the work instructions are over there, that like almost guarantees the person will never look at the work instruction. But if you use the work instruction while you're teaching and you say, hey, do you notice here in step 2 it says watch this measurement or this calibration, then here's what that means. So you're always drawing the connection back to the work instruction, back to the diagram, back to the blueprint, back to what makes a good part or a bad part, back to a memo that you've already pre-filled out because you want to show them how to properly do the paperwork. Here's an example of a piece of a report that's properly completed. Here's an example of a report that's improperly completed. What kind of job aids can you do? If there's lots of steps, can you put the steps into an instruction sheet or a job aid or a checklist? How can you take the chance of them not doing the job and use job aids or other tools in order to fill that in?
Well, here we are. We're finally done. We've made it through all the training modules together. We've seen John learn how to do things right and how to not do things so right. And I want to encourage you on your journey to keep focused on being the best working leader that you can be. And remember that our company offers a number of seminars on different topics that you can bring into your organization.
Overhead transparencies. The overhead projector is one of the most useful training aids. It can replace the need for chalkboards, whiteboards, and charts. Design of overhead transparencies. Keep them simple. Include only the essentials. Make sure lettering is of sufficient height, 5 millimeters. Use color on colorless film or contrasting colors on colored film. Using the overhead projector, make sure the projector is placed so that all can see. Focus correctly. Use masking technique. Cover part of the transparency so only the material one is discussing is shown. The computer palette. The computer palette is a device that replaces the computer screen. Color slides. Main features. Slides are relatively inexpensive to procure. They are easily used. They facilitate study of a topic one step at a time. How to use slides effectively. Do not treat as entertainment. Select slides that are relevant. Plan the presentation. Include an introduction and conclusion. Recommendations for an effective presentation. Always allow ample time for preparation, sufficient time to plan and construct, and sufficient time to rehearse. Make a file copy of the visuals. Check on worst seats, those on the extreme right and left. Mount screen high enough for all to see. Did you know? The idea of individualized learning styles originated in the 1970s, was based on the concept of information. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Training is an important learning process for organizations or dynamic development agencies. Program design is a series of continuous process which comprises of program planning, outlining, and arranging learning experiences in order to achieve the set goal through effective planning and implementation. Program design simply means creating a purposeful system or plan to achieve specific goal. The purpose of a training program is to provide a path for the client to achieve his or her goal. A host of factors influence the design of training. These range as of the conceptual, such as clear definition of training outcomes, to the practical, such as logistical considerations. Learning style is a concept that can play an important role in improving instruction and student success. It is worried with student preferences and orientation at several levels. Climate is what it feels approximating to work wherever, how motivating that is, and consists of 6 clear elements: simplicity, commitment, standards, responsibility, recognition, and teamwork, all of which can be calculated and managed.